It seems obvious in hindsight, but early locomotives didn't have headlights at all. There were two main reasons for this. First, portable lighting technology, especially large lamps that could be mounted on a moving train, wasn't developed in the way we think of today. There was no electricity, and the small lamps of the time were inadequate. Second, early trains simply didn't run at night, which made the whole question of headlights irrelevant. Once trains proved so useful that railroads wanted to operate them around the clock, however, the need for illumination became real. In America, inventors began experimenting with ways to light the path ahead. As early as 1832, Horatio Allen, a noted inventor and civil engineer, created one of the earliest locomotive headlight concepts. His solution wasn't a traditional headlight at all. It involved burning a pile of wood on a flat car with a giant reflector mounted behind it on a second flat car, both pushed by the locomotive. Technically it worked, but it was hilariously impractical and never became standard. More practical experiments followed, mainly using gas lanterns enclosed in sheet metal boxes with reflectors behind them. Mass production of this type of headlight began in 1838 in New York, and by 1850 virtually every American train had one. Remarkably, the use of headlights on locomotives was controversial for a long time. Some argued they were more of a hindrance than a help. Critics pointed out that even if a headlight revealed an obstacle, there was no way the engineer could stop in time, and the light might actually obscure switch signals rather than assist the crew. This argument overlooked the other major purpose of headlights, making the train visible to people not on it. An illuminated object is simply easier to see in the dark. By the late 1800s, experiments with electric headlights began, and in 1915 the United States Congress passed a law requiring every train to have an electric headlight. The American standard eventually called for a light capable of illuminating a person at least 800 feet ahead. Britain took a very different approach. UK locomotives did have headlamps, often with separate settings for day and night, but they were designed primarily to increase the train's own visibility rather than to properly illuminate the track. Most British lines were fenced, so the risk of obstacles was much lower. British thinking held that even with a powerful headlight, a driver still couldn't stop in time, so a proper headlamp wasn't necessary. As a result, UK headlamps are usually mounted off to the side of the locomotive rather than centered, serving as marker lights rather than forward illumination. Drivers were expected to rely on signal lights, not their own headlights. Several different types of lights have appeared on locomotives over the years. Mars lights, oscillating safety lights that made a train more conspicuous, were popular on many American railroads and were especially common on early diesels. They were never federally required, however. Today, American locomotives are equipped with ditch lights, also called auxiliary or crossing lights, which are mounted lower than the main headlight and flash alternately when the horn sounds or at low speeds. Ditch lights originated in Canada, introduced by Canadian National in the 1960s and made mandatory by Transport Canada in the 1970s. The United States adopted the requirement on December 31, 1997, with limited exceptions for historical equipment such as steam locomotives. With ditch lights in place, Mars lights were no longer needed on trains, though they are still manufactured for other vehicles like fire trucks. Another category is classification lights, sometimes called marker lights. These were once common and served to indicate the type and status of a train. White lights signaled an extra train not on the regular schedule. Green lights marked a scheduled train followed by additional sections, and red lights indicated the rear of a train. Today, the first two uses have largely disappeared because digital communication and radio have made visible status indicators unnecessary. Red marker lights, however, remain a common sight to mark the end of a train, functioning much like brake lights on a car. Emergency lights, usually red and flashing, activate when an emergency brake application occurs, alerting those nearby that something is wrong. Strobe lights are sometimes seen on remote-controlled locomotives to warn that no crew member is on board. They also occasionally appear on regular locomotives in busy yards or at night for added visibility. Passenger coaches often feature door indicator lights above external doors, which illuminate when a door is open, helping passengers find the entrance and letting the conductor see at a glance which doors remain open. Finally, end-of-train devices, ETDs, sometimes called EOTs, FREDs, or SBUs, have largely replaced cabooses on freight trains. These devices fall into three categories: dumb units that simply provide a visible red light at the rear, average intelligence units that add a brake pipe pressure gauge, and smart units that combine the light and pressure gauge with radio telemetry to send data directly to the locomotive crew. ETDs not only eliminated the need for a caboose crew but also provided improved rear-end visibility and monitoring. Today, they are standard across most North American railroads and are used in various forms worldwide.